Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, a show that for the first time in weeks has a full complement, has a London correspondent, has the Isle of Wight for folk, has me in the Midlands, and me, who am I? My name is Tosin, I am your host, I am in a small town called Bromsgrove near Birmingham, and joining me as always on the Isle of Wight are Sharon Bollen.
Hello.
Yay! Sharon, who has a new microphone, which means that we don't sound like we are trying to put her in the corner. And as we know, nobody puts Sharon in the corner.
Everybody in the corner.
Yeah, and also joining us on the Isle of Wight this week, Shaun.
Hello there.
Yes,
Hello.
Shaun. And joining us all the way fresh from New York with a New York-sized bug is Holly Nesling, a London correspondent.
Hi.
Hi, Holly.
Holly Bunny.
Yes, if anybody sees any of these clips that we put up on YouTube, you will notice that we have 3 boxes with people's faces and one that just says Holly Nesling. And and Holly, would you like to tell us the reason why we're not seeing your lovely features this evening?
Because my nose is red and swollen and puffy and peeling and I look revolting and nobody deserves to see this. It's bad enough that I have to if I pass a mirror.
But you would still say New York was worth it.
Absolutely, completely and utterly worth it.
All right, good. So now what do we do on this show? On Netflix vs. Cinema, we go to the cinema each week and we see a couple of films. We rate them out of 5. We stay at home and we watch a whole bunch of things. We rate them out of 5. And then we put them all together, find out an average, and we say, where has our money been better spent this week? Now, we have Shaun. We have a Shaun. You know, like that scene in The Avengers where Loki is like, I have all the hordes of blah, blah, blah. And Iron Man just goes, we have a Hulk. I feel like when it comes to cinema viewing, it's just kind of like, well, we have a Shaun. Because Shaun goes and watches everything, so much that it gave me a little bit of anxiety with one of the films that we're going to talk about this week. So in cinema this week, Holly, you've just gotten off a plane. You're excused. But Shaun, what have you seen?
Okay, in cinema this week, I went for a rewatch of Don't Worry, Darling.
Yep.
With Sharon. And I saw The Warrior King and Mrs. Harris goes to
The Woman
Paris.
King.
Yes, The Woman King, yes.
Okay.
The Woman King. What did I say?
You said The Warrior King.
Oh, the Woman King, sorry. The Woman King, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think that is a film. That is a film as well.
Yes, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. All right, go, The Woman King. And so obviously, Sharon, you went to see Don't Worry, Darling.
Yes, and I also seen, not with Shawnee, but I have also been to see Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. And I was on a WhatsApp group. I was telling you guys that I feel like I might need to hand in my film watching badge because for another week, stuff has got in the way. Like most of my viewing and most of my life has centered around a soon-to-be 2-year-old. Which is why I have been watching quite a lot of classic Disney at home. Mm-hmm. I can tell you everything about the boss baby back in business on Netflix.
They do like to watch stuff again and again, don't they?
Oh no! This is the funny thing. She actually doesn't. She watches some stuff again and again, mostly stuff on YouTube. There is a Nigerian channel called Bino and Fino, which is brilliant. I can totally recommend it. And I've actually learned stuff watching that channel. But there's some stuff where I just find like a series and let Netflix keep going through. And so she's watched the Boss Baby back in business. We've watched quite a bit of the old school Disney. So I could talk to you about that, but I decided I'll save, especially you, Sharon, the pain of talking about something animated and go forward with it. But it means that I haven't made it to the cinema in the last week. Well, actually, I did see Don't Worry, Darling, but I haven't been to see anything new. And so, I mean, I think the place to start this week is probably with The Woman King. I think The Woman King is a big thing, and this is because, as I said, as we have it Shaun, I was talking about about it giving me anxiety. It was the fact that I knew this film was out, and I knew that because we have a Shaun was going to see it, and every now and then, I'm not sure whether it happens to you guys, but for me, a film comes out and I'm just going, okay, I want to be the one to talk about this film when we talk about it on the podcast. I want to be the one to review this film. I want to be involved in the discussion. And The Woman King came out and I was like, oh, Shaun's going to see this film. I want to be the one who talks about this film. This is the kind of film that I've been talking about, the kind of film that I've been talking about that I would make myself for years. And I was trying everything to get to the cinema, and then life just said no. Life kept saying no. And so I unfortunately have not seen The Woman King, to my sadness. So, Shaun, I'm going to keep quiet now. I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm just going to sort of like, stew and mumble and grumble while you tell us about The Woman King.
Okay, well, I will, because, I mean, the thing is, I was really hoping you would see this as well, because then you could tell me, because I know when we watched Avengers, the first Avengers film, where we spoke about, the costumes and also with the Black Panther film, when we spoke about the costumes and things like that. And I was sat there. I was thinking, I wish Tosin was here, and then I could say, what do you reckon? And he might say, oh yeah, that's from West Africa. That's from, and so because I think in this film they tried to incorporate, a lot of African sort of tribal dress and traditions and things. So when you do see it, you can tell.
Yeah. Because the film, from what I can understand, the film is based on an actual tribe, on an actual sort of like group of warrior men who existed in the Dahomey tribe, which I believe is somewhere near. It is West Africa, and I believe it's somewhere out Cameroon way. Right. But so tell us about this film.
Okay, so this film, it's about Dahomey as a small kingdom, and they've got a regiment, that are called the King's Guard, and they're all female, and they're all they have to live they're not allowed to have babies, they're not allowed to take husbands, they live in like a compound, they do a lot of training, so I guess a bit like the Amazons. And but what's good about this as well is there's also what I really like, because I mean from the trailer I thought I'm not sure about this,
yeah,
but they actually have men in the army as well, so they've got strong men as well, so it's not just purely, I thought in the big scenes, it's not just purely women. There are men in the army as well, that when they do fight, the men actually fight with them. And there's some dude, he doesn't really say a lot, but he's like another general, a man general, and I was quite impressed with him. I was really impressed with him. I thought, he played a good, because he's strong as well. And they made no bones about it. I know there seems to be a lot of controversy on this, but so basically they were a slave estate as well. So they used to capture slaves to sell to the Europeans.
Yeah.
And there's also this other tribe, which I can't remember the name of the other tribes. Well, there's two tribes, and they're the same. And they decide, one of the tribes is like, they have to pay, the Dahomey tribe have to pay tribute to this other group. And they decide they're not going to pay the tribute. So things go a little bit awry, and you have heads rolling, shall we say, and stuff, and sent off and what have you. But the story, there's also this plot that there's this young girl, and that she's got to be in an arranged marriage, and the bloke's really, really horrible, so she refuses. So her dad takes her and says, you take her and you train her up. So then she trains with
becomes part of the King's Guard.
I forget what are they called, anyway. So, but they train with the King's Guard. They've got a name. And in this film, there's a lot of characters, which I'm pretty sure there was the lady who plays James Bond in the 007, not James Bond.
Lashana Lynch is in it. Yep.
And I mean, they were. It reminded me a bit of, like, with some of the dance scenes and stuff, which reminded me about going back to the film Zulu, because they have a lot of dance scenes, and it's very similar. And I know that's South Africa, I know that's a different area, but you've got a lot of tribal dances and tribal songs and things, and it's really, really colourful as well. It's lovely.
Come on, it's West Africa, and of course it's colourful.
Of course it's colourful. Sorry, what am I saying? So basically, it's the story. This young girl, she becomes a warrior. They refuse to pay tribute. They decide that she becomes quite high standing, and they decide that they want to give up slaving and do olive oil, but they still have to do the slaves, and people get captured. And there's the normal tropes of it. There's the normal tropes in it. Tropes of, people getting captured and having to be rescued, and people getting their heads chopped off, and big surprise fights, and not surprise fights, but there's a fair decent bit of action in it. And Boyega, who plays the king,
John Boyega,
John Boyega. I've never really been a major fan of him, because he's like in the Star Wars stuff and stuff, but I thought he was brilliant in this. He really convinced me that he would have been an African king. He had, because he wasn't, let's say he wasn't like arrogant, but he had that, you know, that this I'm in charge type of thing. And
yep. Had a regal standing about him, a regal.
Yeah, regal. Yeah, he looked good, so he was convincing. It was, but actually the acting was very, very convincing. So yeah, I was really quite surprised at this because I wasn't expecting it from the trailer. I thought, oh,
yeah,
that one. So yeah, I mean, it's got all what you want really. It's got lots of action. It's got a few good storyline. The acting's excellent. The cinematography with the colours and that is just so vibrant. And
okay, so Shaun, I'll tell you one of the things that I wanted that I don't know why, but each time I've seen anything about this film, the comparison that keeps coming into my head is Braveheart, and I don't know why it keeps coming into my head. I know, is it anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's anything like Braveheart.
Okay,
but then I don't know. I mean, I haven't really researched. I probably will. I haven't really researched the history.
I just meant as a film watching experience.
Oh, what?
So like the way the story goes and everything like that.
Take away our freedom, type of thing.
Fight scenes where they're coming and everything like that. That was just what came into my head, but I'm not sure if it's right or not.
Yeah. For me personally, no, I don't think it was like Braveheart. I don't think
All
it
right,
was.
cool, good.
It didn't come to me like it was Braveheart, and I don't think it was trying to be particularly historical either. So
okay,
you know, I know there's a lot of. I'm surprised there's quite a lot of controversy about this, isn't there? Saying, oh, you know, they're horrible. Yeah, I believe there is. It was who was it who told me? I was talking to someone and said, oh, there's a lot of controversy about that film because they were horrible slavers and they massacred people, those women warriors, and they all sorts of things like that. So apparently they were not particularly nice. You know, they used to go and get the slaves basically to sell to the Europeans. And you've got people that are saying, oh, it's not historically accurate. It's not, you know, it's glossed over history. But I don't think that would really come into it. They acknowledged the fact that they were slavers and they wanted to change that. So they acknowledged the fact. I guess the one. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No.
Get political here.
Yeah, no, we're getting political. Let's save it for when I see it. When I see it, I can come in and I can come in all guns blazing. But for now, how many stars would you give it?
Okay, I'm gonna give it because there's a scene between, you know, let's just say it's in the trailer, so it's not going to spoil it. There's a bit of a romance scene, and how that happens is a bit contrived, and I sort of thought, oh no, that was very much towards the end, and it's a shame really because I would say that's one of the few things that detracted from it. But yeah, colourful, well acted, great characters. I don't know. It's a difficult one. This when I go and see it again, I would say I would give this a really, really strong 3. A really, really strong 3.
Okay.
And I can't wait for you to see it. You really need to see it. That needs to be your next. Oh, Sharon. Sorry, I haven't seen Persuasion either. I really need to go and see
no, that was the thing. We're failing on a promise because I haven't seen that either.
And I said I would too.
I think each time when I have with all the other things I have to do, like for instance, I spent most of today trying to fix a toilet, and with everything else that I have to do, I just keep hearing Sharon's words in my ears, and I'm like, I don't wanna.
Don't make me.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, your review, Sharon, has turned me into like, you know, a whiny teenager who doesn't want to. I will not eat my vegetables. No.
Well, I think in some ways, you know, I watched it, so you wouldn't have to. And
yes.
I hope
we'll say that's it.
I have saved many people. I'm hoping that of those people who've seen our video, I have saved.
Yes, almost 700 people who've watched our review. Yes. Wow. So, all right, okay, but so 3 stars for The Woman King. I will go see it, and I will let you know what I do because I know that there's a lot of my worries that I have whenever Africa shows up on screen.
Yes, I know.
There's a lot of my worries that at the moment I'm looking at it. I mean, principally, I'm okay, cool. How many people in this film actually? Oh no, that's a mean thing to say. How many of these people are African actors based in Africa, as opposed to actors of African descent based somewhere else, putting on African accents? If you get what I mean.
I do understand that, but I don't think, as I say, the one thing that impressed me about it is it wasn't just all women. Do you know what I mean? There was I liked, although not not to a great extent, but there was men warriors as well in the same tribe, you know. So they had like an army, and I like that because otherwise, you know, there's no acknowledgement. It's just, oh yeah, you know, she's not alone. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, you think, no, this is oh no, okay, no. Save it when I watch it.
Yeah,
save it when I watch it. Save it when I watch it. Okay.
I'm just looking on IMDb, and of the top 4 listed cast members, 2 of them are one's from Uganda and one's from South Africa. So
Sheila Atom and Subo. How do you pronounce that? Mbebu, yeah. So that there's that. But anyway, so Viola Davis, brilliant. Let's move on until I actually watch the film, and then I can give you like my full prejudice. My full prejudice before I saw the film and how it changed all my views and everything like that, and I can continue on my quest of getting Africa represented on screen and everything, and see if this is a good step in that direction. Let's go over to film and let's go over to the TV side of things. And this week, about the only thing I managed to finish was I Hate Suzie. I think I watched something else, but I can't remember. I mean, it's been a blur. And I Hate Suzie. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this. This has been out a couple of years. And the only reason I watched this is because I heard that there's a sequel coming out. And I was like, well, if there's a sequel coming out, the first one must have been good. And it stars Billie Piper, who, after being a pop princess in the... what would it have been? It would have been the late 90s, early 90s. Yeah, it would have been late 90s that she would have been a pop princess. Disappeared for ages and then came back as an actor in the new Doctor Who. And everybody was like, oh my god, Billie Piper's actually quite good. And this is her linking up with a writer called Lucy Preble, who they did The Secret Diary of a Call Girl with. And the whole idea behind this is that she used to be a child star. And I think, Shaun, what you're going to be talking about that you saw on Netflix has a very similar theme. Somebody who used to be a child star and then catching up with them later in life. So this whole show starts off with her on a show like Pop Idol or X Factor or something like that. And she's singing. And when they're singing, they're like, oh, Suzie Pickles. Oh, this is going to be the last time anyone's going to forget your name. And then it jumps straight away to 20 years later. 20 years later, she's living in the countryside. She's married. She has a son who happens to be deaf. And she's on the phone with somebody in the middle of a field. And she's like, oh, I got the Disney job. So you find out that she became famous when she was young. Was a really, really big star. And then since then, she's sort of gone into acting. And she's had like bit parts here and there. But it isn't like she's the biggest star in the world. And this whole thing is it's 8 episodes, and each episode it kind of follows I think they call it the 8 stages of trauma, which are based on is it 5 stages or 6 stages of grief. So first of all, where you have like shock, and so each episode is called shock or anger or acceptance, and it follows along that theme to see how she deals with this big fallout. Because in the first episode, you find out that her phone has been hacked and some compromising pictures of her are about to be released. And I think this was a big thing when the show was made a couple of years ago, that this was happening to celebrities. So that so these pictures are going to be released, and the pictures are where they get out there and they're going to cause a whole bunch of problems because it turns out that it becomes very, very apparent because of issues of race, shall we say, that the person she is with, that she's in these pictures in compromising positions with, is not her husband. And the rest of the show is just sort of like following on the fallout from this and how she deals with this and what goes on and what crazy stuff goes on in her life and how she makes faux pas and all that. And it is a show that does not have... Well, you know when you're watching a show and you feel like a lot of the drama is of the making of the key character or the main character. You feel like that didn't have to happen, or that didn't have to, and the situations come up and you're like, I can see exactly how you're going to mess this up. And every single thing that comes up, she kind of messes it up, and she is a bit of a mess, and that's kind of the thing of the whole thing. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big fan of watching shows like that. I'm not a big fan of a show when you watch it and it's just kind of like, it's a bit like you remember the film Uncut Gems?
Yeah, I remember that film.
Yeah, with Adam Sandler and
Adam Sandler, yeah.
And the fact is that every single thing that happens in that film, you're like, it is his own fault. It is his own stupid fault. You were almost home free there, and then you messed it up. And this is the kind of feeling that I had throughout the whole 8 episodes of this show. I was kind of like, I don't think I like this. I'm not so sure I like watching a character where everything that happens and everything that they complain about is kind of their own fault. And I know that for some people, might, I don't know, maybe it's the point of the show. They might say that that's like victim blaming because stuff happened to her, and you're saying, but I feel like stuff happens to her, yes, and there's some stuff that happens to her that isn't her fault, yes. But everything she does on top of it just seems to make it worse. Every single reaction she has to it seems to make it worse. The decisions she makes, the things she does, and you're just kind of like, and so after a while, there's whole episodes of this which are just kind of like, an anxiety attack, because it's just, you're watching, even the initial thing, you're watching her world crumble in real time, because while she finds out about it, there's a crew at her house to take a picture of her for a magazine, and there's going to be an interview and it's just about how this celebrity life just keeps going on around her and all that. So I was not that much a fan of it. I know it was massively well reviewed and people loved it and everything, and they were talking about a strong female protagonist and all that stuff, yes. But personally, for me, I did not get on that well with it. I think at the most I can give it is a 3 out of 5. I think Billie Piper is really, really good in it. I think she has a really, really good good performance. Although for me, the standout is, oh god, what's her name? I know her last name is Farzad, who plays her best friend and manager. And I think that she is, I will find her name before the end of this show and let you know. But I think that she is the standout of it, and she's the one I want to see more of her. I want to see more of that character. I want to see more of that actor. So I would give I Hate Suzie 3 stars out of 5. Only watch it if you like watching somebody really, really make bad decisions. And if your idea of entertainment is watching anxiety unfold in real time in front of you, go. That's what I would say. All right, and now we go back to cinema. And in cinema, on the cinematic front of things, we have Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Sharon, I'll let you take the lead on this because I think Shaun has frozen. Either that or he's fallen asleep. so Sharon, I'll let you take the lead. I'll let you take the lead on it. Tell us about Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris is based on a book by Paul Gallico, very versatile and interesting writer. And so Mrs. Harris is a char lady. She does for people. She does their cleaning. She goes around the houses. She does people's laundry. She does their mending. She's a domestic who will go and she works in post-war London in 1957, so it's just at the end of rationing.
Yep.
Before the 360s, so it's in that gap when Britain was basically emerging from the shadow of the Second World War, and for 14 years her husband has been posted as missing, and he has finally been declared dead. So since 1944 she has been waiting for word of her husband, and she has finally been told that no, your husband was killed when he was in the services in 1944, and you are a widow. And so she, while she's doing for one of her clients, a very posh lady, Lady Dent, I believe her name is, she opens her wardrobe because she does her cleaning and she puts all the clothes away, she does the laundering, and she opens the wardrobe door, and inside is a Christian Dior dress. Yeah. And she's just mesmerized by it. And her employer says, it was an amazing dress, but I just had to buy it. It was £500, but I just had to have it. And so Mrs. Harris basically just has this vision that that's what she wants. She has an epiphany that for all her work, for all her lives, she wants something beautiful, haute couture, just for herself.
Yeah.
For years she's struggled, she's got by, but she's never had that one thing. And this has become her dream, that she will save every penny she owns to go to Paris to buy a Christian Dior dress. That's what she does, and by different means. You see her basically doing her mending, doing her cleaning, doing the laundry, doing everything, having a little flutter on the dogs, basically trying to get enough money so she can go to Paris. And then, I won't tell you how, but she finally does get enough money to pay for the dress, £500 for a dress, and her travel money. And then she basically heads to Paris and presents herself at the door of House of Dior to say, here you are, in her broad Cockney, I've come to buy myself a dress. And the reactions of the different members of staff vary. Some people think, wow, she's this breath of fresh air. Others is like, gutter stunt, we don't sound the likes of you. And others, it's like, well, if you've got cash, we want it, because money still talks. Doesn't matter where you're from, it still talks. And so you have this sort of contrast between the people who see her as this sort of innocent but this good-hearted woman, but essentially an innocent abroad. Others see her as just someone who's beneath them, just one of the workers who you have no right to own a Dior dress. Why would you want a Dior dress? You're a char. And then others who see her as, well, if she's got money, we don't care where you're from, you've got money. And then the story unfolds as you see her experience all these different conflicts, but her ultimate aim is to buy this beautiful gown to own for herself.
Oh, okay, cool. So, Shaun, you looks like you're about to jump in with something.
Yeah, I was going to talk. I thought Sharon of the thing. Yeah, no, this was okay. With this one, there was some scenes that I really loved the railway scene with the the French dudes, the old boys sat in the. I mean, to me, that was a lovely scene there. Oh, madame, because like the French, some of the French are very eloquent, and I mean, I like that bit, and also the bit with obviously, like with like the queues and things, and in Britain we queue thing, and in on the continent they don't particularly do that. And she's like, oh my, so she gets a bit hoity-toity, but I really enjoyed this to start with, and I loved the London stuff. I loved all the London stuff, and I loved her story. I loved the backstory. I like we say with the characters. There's a lot of characters, her friends, and the people she knows, and it shows us it was a really caring time. And but then I sort of knew where it was going to go, if you know what I mean. And I think in that middle bit, I started to feel, so I don't know, call it cliched if you will, but I found it that the middle bit I would have liked it to have been a little bit short. I don't know why it was, because I enjoyed most of it, and then I found it dragged a little bit, and then picked up a bit towards the end. But yeah, no, there's great characters in it, great characters, well acted, and it was, on the whole, it was pretty good. It was quite a nice watch. There were some nice scenes, and so that's about the only thing I can say, is it just seemed a little bit long in the middle with. And you knew where it was going, but hey,
in Paris. Do you mean the scenes in Paris? In
Paris, yeah. Except for I mean, with you sort of knew where it was going to go. You know what I mean? So there's no surprise. Well, there wouldn't be any surprises anyway, because as soon as there's like, oh, madame, you know what I mean? And it's great. But I thought she was brilliant. I mean, I don't know about you, Sharon. I thought she was first class. Leslie Manville.
Leslie Manville, yeah.
If you take it as the film, it's fine. As an adaptation of the book, they made some tweaks.
Oh, I haven't read the book, so I wouldn't know.
So I did. I read the book a number of years ago. My friend and I, we both read it at the same time, because I bought it and I read it, and then I lent it to her to read. And she kept a book diary. I keep a book diary, but she was able to look up in hers, and we both read it in 2015.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I got it for my birthday. I remember I got it for my birthday. So thank you, Dave. I did read it and I still got it. So there are some differences. The Mrs. Harris in the book is much older.
Right.
And she's a tiny sort of Cockney sparrow of a lady.
Yeah.
And she's a little bird of a lady, quite a bit older. And there's no way on earth that she was ever going to wear that dress, because it was never about her wearing it. And I think in this film, if you made a film about a lady buying a dress that she was never going to wear, it wouldn't make any sense. It makes complete sense on the page. So on the screen, you could never have a beautiful dress that someone isn't actually going to wear. So I think that changed. So that changes slightly the tone of the material, but I thought they did it very well, because you have to take as the source, and then it grows and it progresses to make it a new creation. So it took, I think, it's like some adaptations of books, as I have mentioned before, can be ghastly because they haven't got the spirit of the book. Yeah. Whereas I think this, even though they completely changed that one, you'd think that was an essential part. The whole point was that she never wanted to wear it. It was never about her wearing the dress. It was about owning something beautiful. Yeah. And it was like transcending her life, this sort of grey life in post-war London, her scrubbing and cleaning and doing the mundane, to open her wardrobe door and see something dazzling and spectacular. It was her dream, making dreams come true. But I liked the way they did transform it from what was on the page to making it make sense on the screen. So I quite like the fact that they took the source material, but then they expanded it to make it fit the medium. Yeah. So I liked it.
Okay, so obviously with this, I think this is the kind of film that even from the title, from Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, from the plot, which can be summed up as lady goes to Paris to buy a dress, which can be everything about this. It sounds it seems like it's setting itself up for. At best, it could be a very heartwarming Sunday afternoon watch. That kind of like or kind of thing that will be on TV at Christmas. But so A, is that the case, and B, if that's the case, how many stars did you? How well did they do at giving you that kind of film?
I think that was the case. For me, it was the case. It was because I went to see it with a friend, and we both enjoyed it. We laughed at moments. We thought, that was moving. So it did what it was supposed to do. I mean, yes, it was a safe bet, I think, in some ways.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be hard to really ruin a book like that. And a film like that, so I would give it a 3, but an enjoyable 3. I mean, it was certainly good. It was entertaining. I liked it, and my friend liked it. So yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. It's a fun book. It's a fun film.
Yeah, I would echo that. I would echo a 3-star. I mean, normally, you know what I mean, being a blokey, you wouldn't think it was my sort of film, but I thought it was really well acted. And as I say, for me, the one scene that sticks in my head is the train scene. I don't know for what reason that. I think I really liked the characters in that particular scene, because they were typically French, they were typically
and it's one of those scenes that's good. That scene where she's this woman on her own, she ends up in this train station with these 3 drunks. That scene could go one of 2 ways.
2 ways, exactly, because that's what I thought first. I thought, hello, especially when it's like, you could be, what have you got there, madam? What could you got? But
exactly, and when you see her, she has a little drink with these guys.
Yes,
and then you wake up in the morning and you're thinking, has she been robbed? Is her bag going to be there? Is her coat going to be there? I'm not going to tell you what does happen.
No,
but it's one of those scenes that there could be peril.
Okay, cool.
So solid 3-star, good 3-star.
Yeah, I mean, and even from everything I heard about this film, from the title, from the poster, I haven't even seen the trailer, or from the synopsis and all that, I just kind of thought if this film was perfectly made with the best it can be is 3 stars. This is a film that's aiming to be 3 stars. It's not aiming to revolutionize anything, but just give you a good couple of hours of watching it. That's what I thought. All right, Holly, you still there?
There are other Mrs. Paris stories, so I don't know if they'll make any more, but Mrs. Paris does go to New York, and Mrs. Paris does have other adventures.
Mrs. Harris.
Yes, Mrs. Harris.
Okay, all right, cool. So, Holly, you still there?
I am, yes.
I'm just checking that the New York cold hasn't taken you away from us, because you have been quite quiet.
No, not yet. I'm still here.
All right. Cool. All right, we won't make you talk too much, but if you have any questions, fire away.
Absolutely.
And now we go to I think this is going to be a final review of like the something new that we've seen before we go back and talk about things that we've already reviewed, but some of us have watched again. And it is I Used to Be Famous. Now this is on Netflix, and I've seen I don't think I've seen the trailer, but I have seen the trailer for this, because this is Ed Skrein playing a person who used to be in a boy band in like the 80s or something, and has soon fallen out. And the funny thing about this is like everything about this film says Bros. If you know the Goss Brothers, Matt and Luke Goss, who were in Bros in the 80s, and they had a song called When Will I Be Famous? And there was a documentary that was made a couple of years back that was called After the Screaming Stops, and it was all about the Goss Brothers and what they're like now, and how, I hope it's not too harsh to say, divorced from reality they are. And when I saw Ed Skrein in this film, even his look, the trailer and everything, I was like, this is them making a film. It's kind of based on the Goss Brothers or the Goss Brothers without actually saying that it is. So Shaun, tell us about this. What was this film like?
Okay, so this film basically, so used to be in a boy band. He carries around a keyboard and stuff, and he tries to do a bit of busking, and he visits his pubs and tries to get gigs and things like that. And he just happens to, there's like this young lad who's a bit of a drummer, and he has a bit of a jam session in the street with this drummer. And as a young boy, he's a drummer. He's got a little bit autistic. But they hit off this real relationship, and there's someone happens to record something on their phone, and it sort of might go somewhere. Obviously, the young boy's mother is very, very protective and very defensive, and you can't do this. So
Yeah,
you've got that story there, and it's him because he's trying to be famous again. You sort of get a little flashback, which is the bit we were talking about with the bleached hair and that when he was part of the band. You know what I mean? And there's
that's so bros. They're not even trying to hide it.
Yeah, and there's a particular thing that happened, but the manager of the band said, "Oh, you've got to come and play," or he needed some time for something, and they said you either come and play or you're gone, sort of thing. So there's that. So he's got this conflict all the time, and of course the same thing. So you think, oh yeah, it's going to be a story about redemption, you know what I mean? But then it comes the time again when you'd say, oh yeah, it's going somewhere. We like what you're doing and all that, but you've got to drop the kid. So then you've got and the mother's really anyway, let's just say it is. We were talking about it. It's exactly the same as Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. It's one of these nice, warm, cliched Sunday afternoon films, which you can sit there and enjoy in comfort, and it's got all the normal tropes. There's nothing new here. You sort of get an idea of where this is going. You get an idea where what is happening here. It's really well acted, actually. I quite like Ed Skrein. Yeah. I quite like him as an actor.
Skrein, I'm not sure how you actually say it.
I'm not sure, but I quite like him as an actor anyway. And he convinced me in this is that he was, the bleachy young boy band,
the young pretty boy band member.
So yeah, the acting was pretty solid. The boy's mother maybe not so good, but on the whole, it is what it says on the tin. It's a nice Sunday afternoon. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. They'd make a good double bill. This would be like if you wanted a bit of like a few perhaps possible moments and moments, moments.
I'll tell you.
This would make a great double bill with Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
I'll tell you what, Shaun. This film has got probably one of the worst trailers I've ever seen. Because sometimes when you say you feel like they've put the entire film in the trailer.
Yeah.
The trailer for this film is like a 3-minute version of the film. Like you watch the trailer and you're kind of like, so what else is there? So the other week when we spoke about Mr. Malcolm's List, I kind of gave what I expected to happen in the film, and Sharon was like, "You've seen the film." And this time, I feel like I could do the same, but that's because the trailer told me everything.
Yeah.
So I figured that and the trailer sort of it goes with that whole heartwarming thing. There's going to be the bit where as you said, they try and break him apart, and then he's gonna have a crisis of conscience. Whether am I really is it going to be fame I go for, or am I going to go for something that's more real and be a real human being again, and blah blah blah. And I think I can guess which way he goes in the film. but it's one of those ones, as I say, it's not about whether it changes the way cinema goes or anything like that. It's about whether it does what it does well.
Yes.
And Shaun, you don't suffer fools lightly.
No.
So, and from the way you're talking about it, it sounds like it might have done something well.
Yes, yeah, I think it worked. I mean, I won't, there wasn't anything in there that I particularly got me huffy, crossed me legs, and Sharon knows about those ones, and heavy breathing and So but I mean,
just Shaun rolling his eyes in the cinema.
It was quite an enjoyable film, and as I say, there wasn't anything like, he didn't suddenly this, like you would in a Hollywood one where, megastars, and all the big things. So I mean, it was quite a realistic, down to earth sort of film. So, but what a great double bill that would be with Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, because you'd have
just lovely Sunday afternoon British movies.
So someone should come up with a app, shouldn't they, for that, or a streaming platform where it's like
lovely British,
lovely movies for a nice sunny afternoon.
I'm gonna create an app called Sunday Afternoon, and that's all it's gonna be. It's gonna be. The app's just going to be called Sunday Afternoon, and it's just going to be lovely films that you can watch on a Sunday afternoon that do not take too much of your time. So how many stars would you give I Used to Be Famous?
This will be a 3-star as well. So this will be a 3-star.
Okay, so 3 stars all across the board today. We have had a very, very passable, solid week at the pictures, whether at home or at the cinema. So, I said I would find the name of the actress in I Hate Suzie, who I think is actually the standout, and is Layla Farzad. Layla Farzad, and she plays the character. Oh, good lord, why am I doing this to myself? I can't remember the character's name. Naomi Jones, who is the agent, and I think she's actually quite good. Right, so before we get on to re-thing of Don't Worry Darling, we have had somebody get in touch. So somebody who actually listened to the audio podcast and then tracked me down on Twitter to find out where they could leave feedback about the podcast. It was where we were talking about, I think, 3,000 Years of Longing, because he had something to say about Idris Elba. And this is a guy called Marcus Clearspring, who is at Word IT UK, or Word It UK probably. And he just he says, oh yeah, you were discussing Idris Elba, so it's probably the recent episode with 3,000 Years of Longing, which Shaun and I spoke about, and you mentioned about Idris Elba not playing Bond, because I said that I personally have issues with James Bond being anything other than a white man, so possibly a straight white man. But I personally have issues with that, so I don't think that the whole Idris Elba as Bond thing, I think is a stupid discussion. But I can talk about that more later. And I think he was talking about you mentioned Idris not playing Bond, and you reminded me that nobody ever discusses bringing back Shaft. And he talks about Shaft, and he says not the Sam Jackson version, but the original Shaft. That's the Richard Roundtree. There are a lot of parallels between Richard Roundtree's Shaft and Sean Connery's James Bond, the way they move physically and their coolness. And now, the truth is, Shaft, growing up in Nigeria with my parents who had lived in the UK in the 70s going into the 80s and all that, and I remember the way my dad spoke about Shaft, and it's pretty much Shaft was the black James Bond. Yeah, Richard Roundtree as Shaft was the black James Bond. And I'm like, yeah, but the thing is that they have tried to bring back Shaft twice. Both times they had the Samuel L. Jackson version in the noughties, and then in 2020 when COVID hit, all of a sudden Shaft showed up on Netflix. There was another, it had exactly the same name, Shaft, not Shaft Returns, not Shaft anything, just Shaft. But this time it had moved on, and Samuel Jackson's Shaft had a kid who was played by Jesse T. Usher, who was another Shaft, and it was everything like that, and each time it didn't really. Both the first Samuel L. Jackson one and the second one with Samuel Jackson, neither of them really work. It's just something that I think, and just to say thank you very much, Marcus, for getting in touch. And you obviously listen to the audio version of the podcast, so hopefully you hear this. And if you hear this, get back in touch with us. I think that Shaft doesn't work unless it's actually in the 70s.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to bring Shaft back, I think you're going to have to set it back in the 70s.
And as well as being like the Black James Bond, is also the music is iconic as well. Isn't it? It's iconic music.
Isaac Hayes.
I mean, as well. Yeah.
He's like, who's the black private dick who's the second shoe with all the chicks? Shaft. Damn right.
Damn right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, but I feel like because of Shaft, and even at the time, the reason Shaft became such a big thing in black communities around the world was because that was the first time you'd seen a hero like that, and it was the fact that the era that he was in made Shaft something. So I think unless you set it in the 70s, I don't know how you're gonna have to do something different with Shaft. You can't just be an action movie like what they tried to do with the Samuel L. Jackson movies. It doesn't work, because they tried to bring Superfly back as well and do a new version of Superfly, and it just seemed like it'd been taken out of all of the context, and it just didn't have anything really to say. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say, Marcus, because whenever anybody gets in touch with us, we say something about it. Sharon, any thoughts about Shaft? Holly, do you want to give us a cough for good yes or two coughs for no?
I'm not sure which one that is.
Sorry, Sharon.
I've seen the 70s film, and yeah, he's cool, isn't he? He's just like, he just oozes it. He's just got that sway when he walks, and that look. He's just like, he snaps his fingers and all the girls faint and stuff. It's just like, he doesn't love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could do something with it, because there was a whole thing about Shaft being against the man, and I know that them having love scenes with Shaft and white women was like a big thing back then. But I feel like you would have to do something different. You'd have to, like, maybe Jordan Peele could do something that, but it'll be a little bit get outy, that to actually talk about the the place of black people in America today, because that's kind of what Shaft was doing back in those times through a genre type style film. But anyway, enough of me getting off film theory.
Thing. So, yeah, it works.
Yeah, enough of me So let's get on to. But thank you, Marcus, for getting in touch with us, and let us get on to "Don't Worry, Darling," which at least 3 of us have seen now. And Holly, we won't put you through trying to talk about this. So Sharon, you saw it. What did you think?
Yes, I think the twist makes this film.
Okay.
So I think other than that, if it was, because when you get to a certain point where you're thinking, where is this going? What is this about? Is this, are we watching Stepford Wives in the modern day? And then I think just having that twist in the middle transforms the film. And then I think, I'm glad you didn't spoil it when we talked about it, Shaun, last week.
Yeah, well, I tried not to. I really, totally,
you sort of like you could kill this film.
Yeah, you would totally kill this film.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought I liked the look of it, but that sort of that heightened reality look about it, because you're thinking there's something going on here, but you don't know quite what. And then as one of the characters is trying to work out what's going on, they know something's quite a little bit off, but they can't put their finger on it. And as we're working it out at the same pace, and I felt that as the sort of the character started to unravel or unpeel the layers of what was happening, we were at pace with her. So I felt that I was at pace with her. So when she worked something out, I was in my head trying to work it out, thinking, what is going on? What is that? What is all the symbolism that we're seeing going on? What's all that about? And then when you get this sort of revelation, it's like, all this symbolism is leading to this. And I thought they did it really well. I enjoyed the film, and I thought, yes, I liked the fact that it makes sense when you know what it's all about. Which is because sometimes you get this sort of revelation and you're thinking, it still doesn't make any sense. What's that bit about? What about that bit? But this was like, actually, it makes sense. So yeah, it holds up to scrutiny. So I liked it. What did you think, Tosin?
I thought it was good. It made me, and I think part of what they're trying to do with this film is that they're actually trying to make you think, obviously. And the big thing that made me think about it is because obviously it's set in the 50s. Everything in this film is all about the 50s. Shaun was talking about the cars, and obviously, but this is like a perfect version of 1950s America. It's like a unnervingly perfect version of 1950s America. And it makes me wonder that why is it that when you think about perfect society, people almost automatically revert to the 50s? And it made me go, why do we immediately go there? Because some things happen in the film later on that make that question even bigger in my mind. Like, why do we immediately go to the 50s when we're thinking about perfect society and all that? The twist, as you say, the big thing when they reveal everything, because it's no secret that there is something going on. When they reveal what is going on, I have to admit I was disappointed, because when they revealed what was going on, I was kind of like, I was hoping it would be more.
It's funny you should say that, because having viewed the film the second time, the film is just totally about control. It's all about control. The whole film, all the way through. And there's so many now, because I knew what was happening. There's the dinner scene. They're having a conversation about, where did you meet and all that. And I was well, yeah. And especially for me, the thing that really nailed it was the dance scene, when they go to the dance scene. It's like, hey, you know what I mean? And it was like, there you go, puppet master. So for me, this film was all about total control. And as I say, I haven't seen it the second time. It's like, well, actually, that is quite subtle and that is quite clever.
Yeah, but there are, and I think we need to stop quickly because we're getting reasonably close. We're getting really close. Okay. Somebody, Holly, you can tell us whether we're getting closer and closer to you trying to put 2 and 2 together and figure out what's going on in this film without watching it. But it's
working on it.
Yeah,
not there yet.
Yeah, so there's there's. So yeah, I mean, when they did the twist, when it comes up and everything, like it tells you when you find out what's going on, I was a little bit disappointed, and it gave me a lot of questions. I was like, okay, how does that work? Like Sharon, you're right. It makes sense, but it makes sense at a level of level 1, But then when you now say, okay, so if that happens, there's implications that come from that. How does the next level work? How does the next hang on, wouldn't but
Tosin, that's when you have to see the film again, because you know me, I am normally very highly critical about things like that.
Yeah.
Things like we're talking about. But there are things in this film that make that all sense. Not necessarily that. Do you know what I mean with the?
I know. There's so much you just can't say. There's so much you just can't say. But there are bits. But I have to say a word for Timothy Simons. Timothy Simons, who plays the Doctor. He plays the Doctor in this, and he plays a character called Jonah in the TV show Veep. And the second he shows up, because he's a creep in Veep, but it's kind of like it's played for comedic effect. But the way he's used in this film, just kind of like, oh, he is horrible. I mean, somebody get rid of him. Somebody do something that is like, no, do not let him examine you. Don't let him anywhere near you.
He's got that look. Yep.
He just has that look that makes you go,
straight away, isn't it? Yeah, you first see him, you think, oh.
You see him and you go, he's a bad one. And even in Veep,
see now there's some threads in the movie about that as well, which is quite interesting, which I picked up on, which you probably anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's a kind of film where we could all sit down and we could just have like a big, okay, let's go. We've all seen the film. Let's just go for it and let's talk about exactly what this is and what this means and all that.
We've often said we should do a spoiler thing, shouldn't we? And have just like to do a thing where we can actually do spoilers, but we actually say, if you want to see this review, there are spoilers.
Yeah, there's spoilers. This is us getting into it.
Just getting into meat and bones.
So either Holly, you need to go see Don't Worry, Darling, or the three of us need to come up at some point and then just go, all right, cool, that's it, guys. The next hour, Don't Worry, Darling. And I could talk about the things about it that did not quite work for me, and you can talk about the things, because there's one question that there's a big question, sure, and for me it's a why would you do that? It's a why would you do that? Like the way you and I would love to hear from you, Shaun, and see why for you it isn't a why would you do that. But anyway, that is it. Don't worry, darling. Until next week, when we will see whatever's in cinema, and I will attempt to actually get to a cinema and hopefully see The Woman King. And hopefully see The Woman King.
So. I would really like you to see that.
Yes, let you know what's good. Until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
And for me.
And from me.
And okay, Holly.
Oh, well done, Holly. Well done, Holly.
Stick it out.
Get well soon, mate.
That you just saying the and from me, I could feel the effort it took to say that. So thank you. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you being here with us. Thank you so much.
Go lie down. I'd like to hear what you thought of Devlin, Ohio as well.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
All right, cool.
Without it causing you pain. We'll do that.
All right, cool, guys. Till next week.